YouTubers, today we're going to be servicing a 1.4 Toyota Corolla petrol. So, simple enough. I'm just going to show you a few little tricks and stuff to do. First thing we're going to do is drain the oil. Now, like I say, remember, start the engine, get the engine nice and warm before you drain the oil. It's just here. It's a 14mm spanner, ratchet, whatever you want to use to get the oil drainer. So we just cracked it, undo. Again, if you move your hands quickly, you don't have to get covered in oil. So, yeah. Now it might not show on camera, but that oil is very black and thin. So it's definitely due for a change. Now the next thing we're going to do is change the oil filter. And on this one, we've still got the drain plug out, and we can actually get the oil filter out at the same time. So literally, just get your little tool. This is obviously adjustable, so you can screw it in and out. Put it on the filter. Try and get somewhere there's room. Make sure it's tight, and then literally turn it off. Now, unfortunately, there's hardly any room here, but we'll get it. Now, the best thing to do is once you get it loose, just unscrew it a few turns. Let the oil fall out just for 30 seconds or so. It saves you getting covered then. But the best thing to do is, as it's doing that, take your new filter, put a bit of oil on your thumb or your finger, and just rub it around the new seal. It just makes it a lot easier to take off the next time. So that's all you need to do. Take this one off. Now we're just going to put this on. Just put a bit of oil around the ring, and simple. Well, actually, to be honest, sorry, the first thing you want to do is get the old one. Just make sure it's the same height, make sure it's the same width, and the way you can tell that is by putting them together like that. Now, these ones happen to be the same name. They're both blueprints, so you can actually check the numbers. The AD number and the AD number is the same, so we definitely know that this is okay. And the next thing you do is just screw it on by hand. Make sure your hands are clean, they've got no oil on, and as tight as you can go with your hand. You don't use any tools or anything on this. Just like that, as tight as you can. That's good enough. Then don't forget to put the sump plug back in. I know it sounds simple, but believe me, it can be easily forgot. Now, another good tip to do before you put it down, just give everything a wipe. So if there's any new leaks, or if it's leaking when you start the engine, at least you're going to know. Now I'm going to put it down. And the most important thing, and I say it on all my videos that I'm servicing cars, is make sure you put the right oil in it. Every car is different. You'll say in your owner's manual, or if you want to ask me down below, or if you just go on the internet. So just get the right oil for it anyway. So the next thing is, this is a dipstick. And on this particular one, you can see two little bubbles, one there and one there. And them little bubbles, it's actually this way around. That's the minimum mark and that's the maximum mark. Normally there's about a litre. If you're on the bottom mark, you need an extra litre to get to the top. So what we're going to do, we're going to stick 3.5 litres in this first, and then we're going to check it. I know I get away with 3.5 litres. The 1.4 I know I get away with 3.5 litres. Don't worry if you go a bit over first, because once you start the engine, the oil filter will take a bit, but don't put too much in. Obviously it's easier to add more than it is to take away. That's 3.5 litres in there, so we'll leave it for about 30 seconds and then check it on the dipstick. So we've left that about 30 seconds now. I'm just going to check it with the dipstick. Now we're in the middle. So we're in the middle, so we're about halfway. That's okay. So we need more, but we're going to start this now. We've got enough in it to start it. We're going to start it now, let the oil filter take the oil, and the engine light, or the oil light, is going to be on. We're going to, when the oil light goes off, leave it running for about an extra 20 seconds, then turn it off, then check level again. So what we're going to do now is obviously put the cap on. I'm going to start this. I'm going to leave it running till the oil light goes out, which is normally 3 or 4 seconds. But I'm also going to leave it running for an extra about 20 seconds. Just let the oil pump around and fill the oil filter. And while it's running, it's no harm, just have a quick look underneath to make sure that the sump nuts or the oil filter isn't leaking. And then we'll double check the level. The oil light has just gone out now. I'm going to leave that just to let everything churn up. Another 10 seconds maybe. It's important also you don't rev it at this point. You don't touch the throttle or anything like that. You just leave it ticking over normally. Now we should be okay. Now what we're going to do is leave it sitting for about 10-15 seconds and dip the oil again. Now we are going to need some oil, because if you remember, we was in the middle of the mark, and obviously the oil filters just took a little bit more. So I reckon we're going to need about another litre of oil, but we'll see when we come to check it again. Now, let's just double check the oil. We know we're going to be low, but it's not a problem. Now, as you can see, we're just below halfway between the two marks. So that's just underneath a litre we need. The camera can see that. There we go. That's just under a litre we need. So we're going to put just under a litre, check it again, and we should be good to go to the next step. Now I've just got just underneath a litre here, so like I said, it's easier to add more than it is to take away, so even if we had to add a little bit more, it's not a big deal. Leave that about 15-20 seconds before you check the dipstick, just to make sure the oil's definitely gone down. Now, we need a tiny bit more, so we're just going to add a little bit more. So as it turns out, it was just about a litre we needed. The white, and then check again. Now, we're bang on the mark. So, there we go. That's it. That's the oil and filter done. Now we'll do the air filter. Now, the old air filter. As you can see, that's the new shiny one, or clean one. This is simple, this one. There's just two clips you lift up, one on this side, one on the other side. It's as simple as that. So you just lift up the two clips, and then it rocks up and comes out this way. But what you want to be careful of, you want to be careful of all the wires and stuff that are attached to it. If you have to, you can disconnect these, but do not under any circumstances start the car or turn on the ignition, because you're going to throw an engine light on. But you can, on most of them, just lift it up just enough just to get this out. Now, as you can see, the difference. What you also want to make sure is, before you put anything in, just make sure it's the same length, same width, and absolutely everything. Now, as you can see from here, we've got 3 rounded corners and a square corner. This square corner comes to here. So you want to make sure, because it'll only fit in one way. If you turn it that way, it won't fit in properly. You want to make sure you get it in the right way. And that is just literally a simple case. Now the other good thing to do is before you change it is to blow the crap out. You can either blow it out or you can use a hoover if you haven't got any sort of airline or anything. This is a tyre pressure gauge, but it'll do the same thing. So just lift it up, mind your eyes, and just blow all the crap out. You don't have to, but there's no harm in doing it. And as you can see, this is a square end here and it'll only fit in one way. And again, this will only fit down. You want to make sure you get these little lugs underneath these connector blocks here. So that just literally pushes down and pushes in. Make sure you get the other end in. Now, push these down. Push them forward. These actually slide up and down. Push them down and lift it in. And that's it. So it's the air filter. What we're going to do now is the spark plug. So we need to take off the engine cover. And this one has a couple of bolts and screws and all sorts. Now these have been added by someone else, but anyway, doesn't matter. That shouldn't be in there by right, but should be a bolt. But it doesn't matter, it does the same thing, so not to worry. Two 10mm nuts then on top. This then just lifts off. And now, the dog can see the rabbit. These are your coil packs. And obviously underneath here is your spark plugs. Now again, there's all different types of spark plugs, platinum, iridium, ordinary plugs, there's loads of different types, there's no point going into all of them. But so we'll now take off the coil packs. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can either do this one at a time, or you can do it all four like we're going to do, because to be honest you can't really go wrong here, because the wires on the coil packs will only reach into one spot, so you can't really, when I take this out, this coil pack won't be able to fit into there or there, so you can't really go wrong. There's a little bar that goes across here, and you want to take the two 10mm bolts off there, because that's what holds the wires down. If you don't take off them, you won't be able to get any of the coil packs out. So it's a case of undoing them. Now this will slide up, which will allow the coil packs to come out.
Hold.
But it will when I undo all these. So just undo the last two. Now all this will come out together, as you can see, it's all coming out together. And like I said, you can't put this in any other place, so you can't really go wrong. I just moved them to the side. Do you know, you can't go wrong, so don't worry about it. So all you need now is a long reach. All you need, the long bar. I'm using a 3/8 drive, and I'll tell you why in a second. And a 16mm spark plug socket. That's all you need. Now these should be easy to get out. If they're hard to get out, be careful, because you don't want to snap them. Or if they've been cross-threaded in, you're in a lot of trouble. So, first thing to do is you want to make sure they're right. So the easiest way to do it is put them both together, make sure they're the same height, the threads here are the same, absolutely everything's the same, which they are. Now they're two different makes, but that's not a problem, as long as you put all the same make back in. These are NGK and these are Densons. Doesn't matter, but you can clearly see that they are the same. So that's what you're looking for. Simple as that. So Just whip them all out now. And the reason why you want to use a spark plug socket is because it catches it and it lifts it up. If that didn't, that'd keep falling out. It's not a problem, you can get a magnet and pick it up, but it's just more hassle, you know. So as you can see, that holds it in. Now, for new plugs, some people say to check the gap, the electrode gap. There's no real need to be honest. But what you do want to make sure is, you can quickly check them all to make sure they haven't been flattened. And what I mean by flattened, you see the gap in between there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to flatten that on purpose. Now, you can see that is now touching compared to that one. So if you see any like that, then obviously that is a problem. That's not going to work properly. So then you'd need to check in your book the actual gap, and it's very easy to set them, it's not a big deal. But new plugs, 99% of the time, you don't have to worry about the gaps. Now another good tip is you want to make sure, don't drop them down into it. If you drop them down into it, you can close the gap, which will make the car run badly. So again, you put it in your spark plug spanner, or spark plug socket, and you put it down and you tighten it as much as you can by hand. Do not tighten it with the ratchet, because you want to make sure you haven't cross-threaded it. So I can tighten that a hell of a long way by hand. Give it a bit of a squeeze. Do the same with all of them. Tighten them all by hand first. It's very important. If you feel these go in tight straight away, then you've got a problem. Could have been the old plug coming out, or you could have crap around the threads. But if they're going in nice and easy like these are, you know you're not going to have a problem. Now all them are in. What I'm going to do now is, I'm not going to hold the end of the ratchet like this, because you can put too much pressure on it. I'm going to hold the top of the ratchet. And all I'm going to do is give them a bit of a squeeze. And this is why I'm using a 3/8. If you use a 1/2 inch, the ratchet is bigger and you can over tighten them. I can't over tighten that because I'm just giving it a good squeeze. I'm not using the full force of the ratchet. You might only get about 1.5 turns before they go tight, and that's absolutely fine. Now, so they're all in. So a few little tips, just make sure you do that, and you're going to have no problems. Just put the coil packs back now. What I like to do is just put them all in first, put everything down, and then tighten everything home. A bit fiddly sometimes. Push that down, just push them all home. Now, and then just a case of screwing everything back down, tightening it, and move on to the next thing. Now, some cars are different, the plugs in different places, some are easier, some are harder to get to, and so this one happens to be on a 06 Corolla 1.4. And that's how you do them on this. Simple. Even a monkey can do it. Isn't that right, John? And the best thing with me is I pay in nuts so I get monkeys. Hence the camera work. But anyway. So that's the 4 plugs in and the coil packs back. Again, screw them down by hand. You don't want to over tighten these either, because you're going to crack the actual plastic. So these just need a little nip as well. They don't need masses of tightening. Now, Jonathan, what do you think? So now what we're going to do is we're going to start it. Again, don't rev it. We're just going to make sure it's ticking over nicely and it's not missing or doing anything it shouldn't be doing. Now, as you can hear, it's okay. We're not going to put the cover back until we check that. If you put the cover back and there's a problem, you have to take the cover back off. So we now know that's okay. I'm going to put the cover back on and do the last check. Right, we're just going to do the checks now. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a bit of screen wash in. Top the rest up with water. Okay. Now, turns out that was quite full, but anyway, so leave that one. Always good to do it. Next thing we're going to do is check the brake level. Now you might not be able to see it on camera, but that's actually moving. And it's just at the maximum mark, and I can see it down there, so that's okay. Next thing you want to do is do the radiator. So check the coolant level. So we're going to do that now. This one happens to have an expansion bottle and a radiator cap, like most Japanese cars do. It doesn't really matter which one you put it in, just as long as you put it in one of them. Now I'm just going to use the expansion bottle. It's just a bit easier for me. Well, I say that, it's actually not. So I'm going to have to use this. Now if the engine was really hot, be careful of taking that off because you're going to burn yourself. I can see the fluid is a different colour, so it's not just pure water, which is good. We have 3 floating, which is good for minus 23. So that's good. If it gets below that, I think we're going to have other problems than the car. So that's it. It's as simple as that. So any questions, leave them down below. Hope it helps. Subscribe and like the videos, and don't forget, get your hands dirty. Oh.